Greetings and welcome to the Mount Rushmore podcast. My name is Jeff, and guess who's in the virtual room with me? It's Richard.
Hello.
And Michael.
Howdy.
Richard and Michael are always debating the Mount Rushmore of any given topic, and this week the topic is come on down, the Mount Rushmore of games in The Price is Right. Did I get that right?
Yeah, Price is Right games.
Okay, Price is Right games. I'm no Rod Roddy, but I'm trying. So, Richard, chose
You're more his brother, Todd Roddy.
Todd Roddy, yeah. Which sounds...
Todd Toddy is a delicious hot drink.
I think some mulled wine or cider in there or something like that. Mm-hmm. Okay, you chose it. You must be an aficionado of these games. I know you're a game show guy, but why this in particular?
Well, I think the Price is Right is the mother of all game shows to some extent. Certainly, it was the mother of all game shows that you watched when you were sick as a kid, when you were 10 years old.
That's right.
Hell yeah.
When you were home from school, that was one of the real highlights of being homesick, is at least you got to watch Price is Right.
Yeah.
And it's something that people have talked. It's actually something that people have suggested to me in the past should be on the show.
Oh.
So I don't have specific people. It's just sort of come up in conversation a couple of times at least. I know.
Is it people with their
want?
Is it people with their names on their pin to their shirt, just yelling things at you?
And yes, that's usually how most of my conversations work. So yes.
Yes. The Price is Right gave me an misrepresentation of how many active military were in game shows. It seemed like every episode there was one soldier on leave who was on the show. So I have to confess there's only a few things that a few games I'm familiar with. The old Bob Barker Price is Right. I haven't seen the Drew Carey one, but maybe they kept the classics anyhow. But so I will be definitely a sponge with very few preconceived opinions on this. So Richard chose it. Michael starts.
My first choice, which is probably on Richard's list, don't know for sure, but it seemed like the most obvious one is Plinko.
Plinko, okay.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Where everyone knows this game. Just visually, I think The Price is Right is so good about what they do with their just these huge visual things that are rolled out onto this giant set. And the Plinko board is the game. Basically, like almost all of the Price is Right games, it begins with trying to guess the price of a particular, I don't know, can of soup or like Brillo pads, and you have to get within a certain amount, or I can't remember if it's Plinko, if you're just like matching a price to a particular object, and then however many things you get correct, you get those number of like these little discs, and you climb to the top of the Plinko board, and you kind of place them on like a big pegboard that's covered in like plexiglass, and the little disc kind of bounces down to the very bottom, and it's you can win an amount of money, and depending on how many of these little discs you have, you win that much in where it lands at the slot at the bottom. So the one in the middle is like $10,000, and on either side of the one is like zero, and then the amount of money is kind of spread out amongst the board, and it is just so visually. I think what it does two things. One, it's just visually arresting to just watch this little thing dance down the board and potentially land in the $10,000 slot. But it's the sound that I think is so wonderful on Plinko. It just has this little delicate, I guess you could call it a plink, as it like dinks and plinks and falls its way down the board. And it's just so satisfying to watch. It's satisfying to see people do great, and it's satisfying to see people get like $100, and that's it.
Yeah. Was Plinko kind of a condensation of pachinko, or isn't that a game similar?
Yeah, that is. I think that's where it came from.
Okay. Richard, what's your feeling about this game, and why do you think it's compelling?
Well, I think the best Price is Right games, or many of them at least, combine an element of human interaction with humans, people actually doing something physically. It's like
For
a
sure.
physical thing along with
For
the
sure.
pricing element of it. So anything where it's just you have to guess a price, and then if the price is over, you win. Those can get kind of tedious after a while. There's only so many times you can care about how much, a can of Bumblebee tuna is. But whenever you combine that with some sort of physical action, I think that's when you get a special game. And I think there's nothing more so than Plinko. And I think Michael hit it on the head with just there's something viscerally fun about watching that chip kind of work its way down the board. And it looks like it's going to pop in the $10,000 space, and then the last second it veers into the zero. And it's like, oh, or the other way around. And I always appreciate the strategy of the people who are up at the board of where exactly they're going to drop it, if they're going to put any spin on it, and do they make a correction after the first time and it goes into zero, so they go to the other side of the board, do they stick with the same drop? It's just it's fascinating kind of human psychology.
Yeah. Well, that's fun. It does seem like in an era in which some games were being hacked and won by people who would memorize patterns and electronically created and repeating elements. You can't hack Plinko. I don't think.
Unless there was a magnet or some sort of magnet at the bottom, but that'd be about it. I also like this game because our friend and former guest host on the show, Chris Carey, one time for a kickball mid-season or end-of-season party, it was a P party where you had to dress as something that starts with the letter P. Yeah. And he built a Plinko board that and he wore it on his shirt. It was like a mini Plinko board. Mm-hmm. And he would invite people to play, and one of the slots down there was win free drink. And someone must have hit that a dozen times during the course of the night.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I don't know how many times poor Chris had to now this was at the Elks Lodge, so it was like a $2 drink. So let's not get too upset about it for him. But it was just always a funny memory for me.
The first thing I do whenever you guys outsmart me with your smarty smarts is Google the thing and try to figure out something I can try to quickly educate myself. And this one says that the game was created by Frank Wayne, who was the producer and a game show host himself, frequently working for Mark Goodson Productions. But I love that. This guy was maybe the kind of, if not the Walt Disney of the show, the kind of iWorks, the guy behind the scenes creating some of the fun stuff. So that's a lot of fun.
What a fun job that must be, by the way, to be the person who invents new games for The Price is Right.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That's just got to be there's just enough creativity involved and all the factors, what makes a good game? How do you come up with new ideas? I just think that would be a really cool job to have.
Yeah. And knowing, were you to not investigate thoroughly the strategy involved in it, and it could somehow be won easily, you're going to bankrupt the show.
you could be responsible for the death of The Price is Right if you do not do it correctly.
The game was wrong, and The Price is Right is over. Okay, cool choice that both of you chose, Plinko. And let's go on with Richard's second choice.
All right. I think there were two choices that I would be surprised if we both don't have. And this is the second one. And it is Cliffhangers.
Also on my list, yeah.
I kind of assumed it would be. If you know anything other than Plinko, you probably are familiar with the yodeling guy.
That's the one I know.
Yodeling. A very simple game. You have 3 prizes. Each are progressively larger in value. And you have to guess the price of it. And the little guy goes up the mountain however many dollars you're off by. And if you're able to get him to stop after the third prize and you haven't gone over by too much, then you win all 3 prizes. But if he falls over, you lose everything. And they don't tell you what the correct answer is. They just show you the yodeler going up the mountain, which I think is the key element of it. Because if it was, okay, this is $10 and Bob or Drew said, no, it's actually $15, so let's move it up 5, that wouldn't be that dramatic.
No.
But when you guess $10 and they say, okay, let's see what it is, and the little guy starts moving up and you see it and it's not stopping, and you can hear the audience like, oh no. And especially when it's down to the last one and the guy is getting close to the edge, maybe he's going to stop and maybe he isn't. It's the perfect setup for drama, which is what I think they're trying to build on The Price is Right.
Do you feel like there is so Frank Wayne or whoever's creating the games is a philosophy major? Like they go, now Nietzsche has a principle called the mountain, or this the Sisyphean. This is Sisyphus, and there's no crow that pecks his eyes out, and there's no boulder. He just knows that he has to go up this mountain. I'm sure there's some philosophical principle that this is all based upon. But yeah, I could also see like the German ambassador to post World War II saying, yeah, that's us. Think of us like that. The fun mountain climber. We're not those other guys.
We're not the Nazis.
We
won't
Nazis.
say their names. The other guys.
The other guys. We're not those other guys.
We're fun. We wear lederhosen and drink giant beers out of steins. Come join us.
Michael, what made you choose Cliffhangers?
It is by far my favorite Price is Right game. It's the one that, when you are, as was brought up at the beginning of the show, when you're, 8 years old, 10 years old, and you're home from school, it is just the most fun to watch because it's the most ridiculous. You just see this little guy going up the hill, and like as Richard said, you don't know if he's going to fall off. You 100% want the person to lose the game. I think that's the thing. The key to watching Cliffhangers is you don't want this person who's playing this game to win. Mm-hmm. You want to see the demise of the yodeling guy go off the edge. Because it's just great. He just falls off and I haven't seen the Drew Carey ones either, but like Bob Barker, I think he just didn't give a shit about this game. He didn't really seem to react. In my memory of him going over the edge, he wasn't like, oh, too bad, or like, yay, you did it. It was just like, oh, there you go. I think he's above this game, but for a 9-year-old, it was it's just so wonderful to watch.
Yeah. Have you ever seen it where, like we've seen the Jeopardy fails where somebody writes Donkey Kang, instead of Donkey Kong or something like that, or I think of Wheel of Fortune where they guess a completely wrong thing. Have you ever seen anybody just shoot that guy over the mountain the first time or anything like that?
I don't remember
just
that.
Off by 20. He's just off by $25 and he's just gone.
Yeah, he's trying to guess like a box of macaroni and cheese. It's like $50.
Yeah.
I have no idea how much this is worth. Please help me.
Yeah, it's Donald Trump being unconnected to consumerism, like just basic grocery store things, and he's just like, I don't know, how much is milk? $100? Who cares?
Yeah, it's like when George Bush, when he was in office, and they had him for a campaign stunt go and work the checkout register at some grocery store in New Hampshire, and he was just amazed by how much a gallon of milk was. Like he had no clue whatsoever what it could have possibly been.
That sets an interesting counterpoint to you guys being sick and not at school, and then watching him going, oh man, fuck, life costs a lot of money. I better go back to school.
I think too, by the end of like summer vacation, you are so well versed in how much everything costs that you're angry at the people playing the game. You're like, you don't know how much a loaf of Wonder Bread is? Come on.
Yeah.
Dude, it's $1.29. It's always been $1.29. How do you not know this? I don't know what kind of studying one does, but a 10-year-old at the end of summer vacation certainly knows how much a can of turtle wax.
Always turtle wax.
Yeah.
My little thing that I found doing research for this game was on the Wikipedia. Apparently, one of the hosts, Dennis James, who I think was like the nighttime version in the 70s.
Oh,
if I'm correct, he wasn't the Bob Barker version, but he had nicknamed the little climber Fritz. And at one point, the little guy went off the thing, and he said, "Oh no, there goes Fritz." Well, it turns out that Janice, one of the Price is Right Barker's beauties,
Yeah.
her husband had recently disappeared in what had been reported to be a mountain climbing accident at the time.
Oh no.
Yikes! So she apparently spent the rest of the episode backstage in tears, and they had to work around that.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Yeah, I'm surprised that you guys haven't mentioned any of your favorite Barker's Beauties as your favorite game to play, or the one you wish you could. The Holly Ann Hallstrom is one that popped up on the wiki as one of the longest tenured Barker's Beauties, and they've got dudes now, don't they? I think
they have guys now. It's very PC.
That's cool. Very woke. So we are going to do our halftime spiel now. This game you can play, and that's find the interesting episode. If you go back to the archive of Mount Rushmore, you'll quickly learn that we talk about stuff that we like, and we try to talk about knowing that if we dig it, there's probably a lot of people who are hipster pop culture nerds who are going to like it as well. But I think you're going to win this game because you'll quickly delve into things that talk about movies and books and TV shows and nerd culture and literature and all kinds of fun stuff, and then just life stuff. So do us a solid and play the game and go look. I don't think you'll fall off a cliff if you go through there. But if you do, is there a way to overbid and then you get boo? We should put that in. We should have that as an episode. That guy had the trombone player probably came in for one day, thought, this is nothing, this will never go anywhere, and it's been playing ever since. And
He's
then
the same guy. He also on the same time he recorded, same day he recorded that wah wah wah.
And some guy named Spielberg just wanted him to do a couple low notes for a movie about a fish. The Instagram, the Twitter, Facebook, you can go back on Twitter now. It's great. Well, it's still got the guy on it, but go back to Twitter.
The guy.
That tiny from his tiny desk, tweeting.
It was the best.
Yeah, and message us and let us know episodes you'd love to hear us discuss, and then topics in which we missed a good suggestion. So that'd be cool. Next week we're getting in the holiday spirit, and we are going to be speaking with the proprietor of the Weird Christmas podcast. Okay, so yeah, it'll be fun to talk to the Weird Christmas guy. That's next week. Michael, your third choice.
My third choice is a game called Punch a Bunch.
Oh, wow.
And this is a game that has kind of these three aspects to it. The first part is that you try to guess the price of a particular object. I think it was like a higher or lower sort of thing where, is the price of this can of tuna higher or lower than 99 cents? And if you win, you get a chance, and you can get up to I think 5 chances. And then you go over, they bring out this punch board, which is, again, kind of like Richard talked about, like the best games are these ones that involve something physical that you're doing. Now, it's just this big punch board where basically you have like these big paper holes that you can punch out, and you punch your hand into it with however many chances you've chosen, and then you get to one by one, whichever. I think they do them in the order that you punched them. Bob Barker or whoever will reach their hand in and pull out a slip of paper, and on that paper is written amount of money. Now, the ultimate prize is $25,000. So you have a chance. You only get one of whatever choices you pull out. So if you reach your hand in and you pull out like $1,000, there's still a lot more prizes out there. There's a lot more money that you could potentially throw away. So you have to either make that choice then and there. Am I going to keep whatever I chose or try to get something bigger? And this is where just like greed just takes over. And that's what's great about The Price is Right and game shows in general, is that you're always like tempted by something. You're tempted to that there's always more money, but you've got to make that choice. It's like, are you going to choose door number 1 or door number 2? But in this, you have like these 5 different options. And I just love the physical nature of like punching through these slips of paper, which is something that like no one can never not do. Like you're just punching through paper. There's, when you get to like the showcase showdown at the end of like the halfway mark, and where they choose the 2 people that are going to go into the showcase, it's always great to see the people that like just can barely spin the wheel, and you feel so bad for them. It's great. You're just like, and that's the only time that I think Bob Barker gets really disappointed.
Come on,
it's like the people that are so weak. But like punching through the sheets of paper is like it's an easy thing to do, and people approach it with such apparent strategy for such a random thing. I'm sure there's like someone has compiled the Punch a Bunch kind of heat map of where things are located, the same way they have it for like the Daily Double on Jeopardy.
Yeah. Because it is rife with human error. Like Lenny the intern fills the punch holes, right? It's not like it's a robot or anything like that. Yeah.
It's not automatically done, but so it's just these. I like it's 3 steps. There's 3 aspects to the game, and then the ultimate aspect is greed.
Yeah,
it is sort of the proto version of Deal or No Deal in some ways. That idea of you have this much amount of money that you are guaranteed, and there's a chance you could get more, but there's also a chance you could get less. So which way are you going to go? And it very much works on that same principle as Deal or No Deal, I believe.
I'm sure there's another, like Hegel, or I'm trying to think of which philosopher this one is based on. It does seem like this sense of your greed is what's going to be your undoing, and and then the mystery of what's behind this box. It seems like the relish too you describe of the person punching through that paper and getting a little bit of like anger out punching through the money.
Well, there's always, there's two opportunities for Schadenfreude. There is the person who continues to go and loses $1,000 and winds up with like 500.
Yeah.
And then there's the person who stops at $1,000 or $2,500, let's say, and they go and say, well, if you would have continued, here's what the last one was, and it's the $25,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
So lots of opportunities for Schadenfreude in this one.
Do you? It's all cash too. Is this the only one on Price is Right where you're just grabbing money?
It was the first one that was all cash, but Plinko's all cash as well.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah. And there's a few others, but it was the first one that was all cash.
Okay, so this is the first unique choice that Michael has that is not one of Richard's. So Richard, what is punch through that dollar sign? Yeah.
Also, don't people? I hope that people walk away with like whatever they've bid on too. Like I hope that like they just get like, here's your can of tuna and turtle wax and a box of Rice-A-Roni. Like I would love like if they're just walking away with like this, like a half a shopping bag full of like grocery items. They're like, what?
Yeah, they make you carry.
They gave you the clearance aisle from Food for Less. Yes,
wearing some ill-fitting Hagar slacks. Like, I won these. They're not going to tailor them for me. Oh, a bag of certs. Okay, Richard, what's your third?
My third is hole in one or two. It is the miniature golf game. It is the miniature golf game.
Oh, fun.
Where essentially you're given, I believe it is, let me look at my notes here, it's 6 items, and you're asked to put them in descending or in order from least expensive to most expensive. And the further along you get, the closer you get in terms of a putt that you need to make in order to win the big cash prize or the car or whatever it happens to be. So if you only get one right, you have to start from the very back. where you don't get any right. You start from the very back, and it's like a 25-foot putt. All the way to, if you get all 6 right, it's basically like 2 feet away. And I love the idea, I mentioned it before, the physical type of games, and Punch-a-Punch falls into that as well. And this is unique because I think it's one of only a handful of games where while it's important to do well in the pricing element, there is like a physical like aspect to this. Like you physically have to do something in order to win.
Yeah.
And so you wind up with, these little old ladies who have probably never played a round of golf in their lives having to make like a 20-foot putt to try to win something. Or you could be some guy who golfs 3 times a week and suddenly you've got a 2-foot putt and this is like a piece of cake for you. It's one of the few ones where whatever physical skills that you have can actually help you. And I just remember it was always exciting whenever Bob Barker got up there because he would do what they call the inspiration putt, just to show that, hey, this is something you can make. And Bob Barker, famously somebody who was a avid golfer, so he would just be draining these putts from 20 feet out, and then give the putter over to this poor guy who's like shaking and nervous and has never putted before. Here, it's easy. Now you do it.
That's so funny.
And there's always the potential for weird things to happen. I will try to remember to post the video of one time a guy missed it by like 5 feet, but it hit some sort of a pebble or some like imperfection in the carpet that they were putting on, and it literally did almost a 90-degree angle and went straight in the hole. It's the weirdest thing. It's like one of those trick golf balls. It looks like the ones that are meant to like curve and go weird, all weird place. It looks like that. Or you'll get somebody who, hits it way too hard and it goes off the back and it hits off the wall and then bounces in. The potential for weird stuff to happen in hole in 1 or 2 is, I think, higher than almost any other game, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that one of the Barker's beauties hit the putt and it looked like it was going to miss by a mile, and then it just curved very violently into the hole, and they
that might be what I'm thinking of. Yeah.
I think they determined there was actually like a hole in the ball. Like the ball itself was default. What were you going to say, Michael?
Oh, I like that. I've always liked just if they miss the first putt, where Bob Barker will slap the sign and then it changes from hole in 1 and then the thing slides and it says or 2, like this. I think it's this great surprise that hasn't been around for like 20 years.
Wow. There is in the wiki, it says, talks about hole in 1. And it says in one episode in the Mexican version of the show, a contestant missed both of her putts from the closest line, and Marco blew the ball into the hole. So there is a Mexican version of Price is Right, where there was in the 80s, in which the host was named Marco. I got to investigate this. This sounds very interesting. The physical challenges, like you said, this one, you could as a golfer never dream of going on the show, but then you end up doing it and you realize you've been practicing your whole life for this moment. It almost seems like the half-court shot that the schmuck makes at the college game or something like that. Yeah,
exactly. It's exactly like that.
Yeah. All right, Winfield, what do you got? Wrap it
up. My last choice is Safe Crackers. And it's possible that I am just a sucker for these big, ornate, oversized, ridiculous gimmicks that come out.
A big set piece is always fun.
I love it. I'd love the big thing being wheeled out onto the stage. But Safe Crackers is a game where there are like 2 prizes that are hidden within a particular safe. This giant safe that looks like out of something. Out of a comic book movie or out of a 1920s bank that someone has to break into, and basically you have to guess the 3-digit combination on the safe to try to open it up and win both prizes. And it's not a long game. It doesn't take a long time. But I just love the hugeness of this. And it's, it doesn't take a huge amount of skill. You're either going to get it right or you're going to get it wrong. You don't have to do anything physical. But just this thing is just, 12 feet tall, this huge giant safe. And either you win or you don't. And I kind of like that. I like that there's so much effort gone into they have to store this thing someplace. Mm-hmm. And maybe you're going to win a Huffy bike and, I don't know, a nice set of china. Who knows?
It does seem like a compelling aspect is the playability. All of these things look like this is a big arcade, and you would want to get your hands on these things to feel what that mechanism is, or to feel what it's like to move those little dials around.
Yeah,
that seems like a component that I find really attractive. Like the Price is Right set is very, very colorful, and it's got so much light and neon and stuff. I also interesting. It seems like these games, this is not just a show; it's kind of an institution. And I imagine the people who've been working on it have been have much tenure on it. So unlike other games where you don't feel like there's kind of a family aspect, it feels like you're watching family play, or at least the host, you feel like you identify with them. Whereas other game shows don't seem to have that. I don't feel like that with Jeopardy or Wheel of Fortune, really.
The one aspect I miss about the one thing I really did like about Wheel of Fortune back in the day, which they changed, was when at some point you just through a given round you got to bid on this huge kind of carousel of prizes that just spun around. It's like I'll buy the I'll buy that.
You spent your money at the end of it. Yeah.
You're like, you have $2,000. You're like, I guess I'll buy that giraffe. that wooden giraffe. I guess I need one. Some skis. Sure. It's like shopping in grandma's attic. I need a bird cage.
I remember that was a Dennis Miller quip back in the day. Like $2,000 for a stereo. Those are Wheel of Fortune prices. I said it was Jay Leno. Sound like. I wish with Safecrackers they would actually turn on a ear-piercing alarm and fire a shotgun over your head, like while you're trying to crack the safe. Something to make it more real.
That's
and
funny.
If you lose, a security guard would come and literally take you away.
Escort you out.
Yeah. Or people inside. We're suffocating. Okay, the final competitor, the final game is the fourth round choice from Richard Manfredi.
All right, so my fourth choice is the race game.
Oh, wow. This is very sociological, too.
This is, where you have to guess the race of different biracial celebrities.
Yeah.
No,
Ooh.
that's not what it is. That's not what it is. They do not show you
all
a photo of Tiger Woods, and you have to guess what race he is.
You are Scotch and Ecuadorian.
The different models come out, and you're just like, I just got to go through and figure out what you're made of.
Exactly. No, so let me lay out this game for you. So there are 4 prizes that are set at various kind of a few 20 or 30 feet away from each other. And you're given 4 price tags. And you have to hang the correct price tag in front of the correct prize. And there's a giant lever at the beginning. So when you have 45 seconds, so you start and you go and you run and you put your prices in front of the prizes and you run back and pull the lever and it stops the clock. And then you see how many you got right. So maybe you got 2 correct, but you don't know which 2 you got correct. So then you have to, if you want to, you can choose to go again and rearrange them and come back. And maybe you got 3 correct this time, or maybe you only got 1 correct. Now you actually screwed one of them up. So now you have to go back and figure out, okay, if I go back to those 2, which one was it and which ones do I need to change? And you've got 45 seconds to try and figure this out.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I liked this game growing up because it was like a logic puzzle.
Yeah.
It was like one of those logic puzzles that you would get in like the Dell crossword puzzles.
Mm-hmm.
One of those sort of deals where it's like, Well, if A and B, if two of the three were correct, and then you changed three of them, and now only one is correct, so which two are the most likely to have been correct in the first place? So there's that element to it. And again, I also like the idea that this is probably the only game where someone could actually get winded playing it.
Oh yeah.
By all the running back and forth and trying to do things. You see these people, and some of these contestants are not what we would call physical specimens.
Mm-hmm.
And by the end of this game, there's a little bit of huffing and puffing going on.
Mm-hmm. Wow, what a way to go if you had died during
the race game.
In the race game, he died in a race.
Was it a 5K, a 10K? No, it was about a few feet back and forth between the jet ski.
September 19th, Sharon Baker won 4 cars on the race game. Like crazy.
Wow.
Chevy Colorado Ranger. Yeah, Jeep, Outlander, Toyota Yaris. That's not
what
really
the hell are you going to do with 4 cars?
I don't know. What do you do?
How do you pay the tax on that? You just sell one.
Yeah, you sell one of the cars.
You sell one, then you got to pay the tax on it. The Price is Right is one of those game shows that I've never really understood the general fascination with jet skis.
Yeah.
But on The Price is Right, they are just so prevalent. They are just dying to give them away to somebody.
Yeah.
I have ridden a jet ski once. This was years ago. I think we were just out of college. And Sarah's dad rented it for her and I for an hour, but he only got one of them for us. So we're doing the thing where I'm on front and Sarah's on the back. And this jet ski is really made for one person.
Mm-hmm.
So you add 2 people to it, the balance gets really wobbly. Like it's really hard to control. And Sarah, God love her, for whatever reason, she got super panicky that if she fell off, she was going to get mangled in the motor of this thing, even though it's completely enclosed and there's like a shut-off switch and all that kind of stuff. So we literally had to get one of the lifeguards to come back and take Sarah and take her back so she could go on the shore.
Oh. No fun.
So, and then I spent the last 10 minutes riding around and having a blast on the damn thing. It was a lot of, the last 10 minutes were a lot of fun for me, not so much for her.
Yeah, what are some prices you see? I as a kid, I remember thinking Puerto Vallarta was the only vacation destination on the planet. It seems like they must have
Acapulco.
Yeah. And I do recall, I think it was in the Bob Barker, or maybe I'm thinking of Wheel of Fortune. I don't know if Bob Barker would have ever had fur coats, but it seemed like he had fur coats on the show when I was a little kid. I know he was he's a staunch animal rights activist.
Well, as long as the fox was spayed or neutered before it was killed and skinned, then
or with a diet of natural causes, it's a little bit of mange on the fur coat.
They gave away a lot of dinette sets. They gave away like patio furniture, things that all of their prizes, and especially in like the showcase, were always just like, okay, there's a bedroom there. And then it's like, and then I think that was the best thing about it, was the showcase, like the 2 of them. And it was like, a kind of gaudy furniture set. And then the next person's showcase was like, here is literal bars of gold. And you're like, oh, but it's a twin size queen.
Yeah.
Queen bed, huh?
Great. Thanks.
A lot of armoires being given away.
Yeah.
Always all stuff I already have a thing, and it's
maybe
fine.
have a better version. Maybe have a better version of it. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, dudes. I would like to ask, is there, speaking of episodes we will be considering in the future, we may be doing the Mount Rushmore of song cues or sound cues for film and television and other things. Was there anything other than maybe the sad trombone disappointment music that you recall as being a great cue out of the show?
There's the da 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 da.
Yeah,
that one.
Yeah,
that's the only other one that I remember.
Yeah.
There's something so visceral about a new car.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely.
Just it's not a music cue, but it's just like there's always that little pause. And it's like you could get you could be bidding on this 10-speed or a new car.
Yeah,
And I was like, yeah, fuck you, bicycle.
That was John. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you.
Johnny
go ahead, John.
Johnny Olson was the predecessor, I think, to Rod Roddy, right? And he was the guy who kind of coined a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, I always appreciated it's not a musical cue again, but I appreciated the gap between calling somebody's name and the camera having to scan around the studio audience to find them.
Yeah.
And then being able to say, come on down.
Oh, yeah.
Jill McCarthy. Pause. Awkward. Where is she? Oh, there she is. Come on down.
Okay, guys. So such a fun choice. Let's do Plinko cliffhangers because it's got to be right if you guys both chose it. And then I really think there is some Nietzschean thing in cliffhangers. I honestly do. And then I also think there's something philosophical in that Punch a Bunch game, Michael Whitfield. And I'm going to go also with Hole in One, Richard, because you had some fun backstory to it. And it is interesting to think of Bob Barker just kind of like crushing you. this man with bones like a sparrow. And he just crushes, drains a 30-foot putt, and then hands you the putter like meeting your father-in-law for the first time. And like, here you go, kid. Good luck.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fun. Okay, cats and kittens, let's all meet next week for the Weird Christmas episode of the Mount Rushmore podcast, featuring our guest from that podcast. Until then, as always, I'm Jeff.
I'm Richard.
I'm Michael. Please spay and neuter your pets.
Yay!